What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're engaging in the technical side of the conversation, as we are very much used to on this channel. And most of what we talk about, we reiterate over and over again. But in today's video, we're going to be looking at one of them that we've hammered down multiple times. And I'm sure if you're a member of this community, you are probably used to these kinds of videos and you've probably heard this particular line of discussion before. But this is not necessarily to your benefit. This is for the benefit of people who are newly joining the community, and something that you could probably maybe use as a refresher when you're actually engaging in conversation as this game, is out there in the limelight. So this is a matter of the technical performance of Gotham Knights and the past gen conversation. Now, this is also something that's pretty cool because new people are joining the channel. So we love to have you guys, and we love to pretty much, share a lot of what it is we've been talking about in the last few years surrounding Gotham Knights. So new audience member here, or maybe someone who's been watching for a while, they went ahead and commented on my last video regarding PC requirements, and they said, let's not forget that the devs went out of their way to say that this game wouldn't be possible on last gen. And while I think it looks pretty good, it doesn't look as jaw-dropping as that justification implies. And I agree with you. I think the game doesn't necessarily have that next gen in quote look. Like say you look at Spider-Man that had more photorealism in its own design philosophy. But keep in mind that this conversation about the next gen and last gen has been going on for such a long time. And in my own opinion, I think what it is just the knowledge of the expertise anyways, and the knowledge of what the last gen consoles actually were compared to the new gen consoles, and how that is in a sense limiting and stifling to a whole lot of video games. Now, let's look at some body of evidence as to why the last gen consoles are quite limiting in game development overall. So in a conversation about Outriders, I know, it's an Unreal Engine 4 game, so bear with me. Youngye, who's the content creator, the YouTuber who makes, a lot of these games, industry videos, he asked on Twitter and said, I wonder why a game like Outriders as a single player would not run, will have to require an online connection in order for the game to run. So this is the question here. He was asking Frederick Thailander, who is a developer at Ubisoft Massive and has worked on multiple video games. You can look him up and look at his resume. It speaks for himself. So he says, out of genuine curiosity, what is the logic behind a game like Outriders being built in such a way that even its single player component requires online? Why choose to construct a game that way when it could potentially be restricted for players? And Frederick Thailander replied, he said, I didn't make Outriders, of course, so I can only speak for the pretty similar game I did help make, The Division. You can do it because you can run more. He says you do it because you can run more. The 2013 laptop CPU that is in an Xbox One or PS4 isn't too capable, so you run heavy things like raycasting and AI on a server. So this was Frederick Thailander's opinion. This was back in 2021. Now, I played The Division, so I've followed Frederick Thailander since he ever surfaced as one of the developers for the Division game. I played the first Division game from 2016, and I played the second one from 2019. Even till date, I log in and I have a lot of friends in our community that we still play the game together. And so this conversation comes to Gotham Knights, and you say, well, what is Gotham Knights' holdback or drawback when it comes to running the game on the past generation of consoles? Number one, I think, is the size of the game already. Remember, we're looking at the CPU of the PlayStation 4 and comparing it, according to Frederick Thailander, who's a developer, to a 2013 laptop CPU. You see, I had a laptop in 2014, and yes, it actually could play like FIFA, but the quality was not good. It wasn't a gaming laptop, but it was a laptop that was actually reminiscent of its time. But it wasn't even the top of the line. So if the 2013 computers, the top of the line CPUs, are limited to develop games like Outriders or The Division in order for them not to require running part of the game on the server, then how much more a game like Gotham Knights, which needs to run most of its tasks in your core system by itself? So think about it. Gotham Knights does not require an online connection for you to play. I don't know if you have looked at, say, the Xbox page or even the PlayStation page or the Steam page. It is one of those games that does not require online play. It is just pretty much a single player game. If you even wanted to look at, say, the PC aspect of it, you can look on the Steam page for Gotham Knights. And if you look here, it says single player, online co-op, and it's got, full controller support. They have to say that. So if you wanted to go ahead and, pretty much look at, say, that description very well, you're going to see a bunch of, other single player games. Some of them may or may not, require the connection or whatever it is. But I think this is very important for people who are looking at Gotham Knights and saying, why is this game not being run on PS4? So I think the argument, and I think the knowledge base, is a matter of knowing, say, the design style versus the performance requirement. Because yes, the design style is of the old school video game style. It is not your photorealistic, development strategy like, say, the Spider-Man game where you could see Miles Morales, in very high quality or whatever it is. Gotham Knights designed it with a dark theme. And I think if you look at the way Gotham Knights is somewhat dark, I think it was to hide some of the inconsistencies that you would probably have seen on your PS4 and Xbox One. You see, design decisions are very interesting when you kind of take a look at it. And yes, you might argue and say Spider-Man was actually done on the PS4. How come everybody else can't do Spider-Man on the PS4? Well, you don't have to account for the Xbox One when you're making a single console game. You also don't have to account for a PC unless you buy a whole new studio that's going to go ahead and actually make a PC port and deal with all of the constraints, which is Spider-Man. I'm talking about Spider-Man. Sony literally bought an entire new studio to go ahead and, basically make a port for the remastered version of Spider-Man for PC. And I'm sure that studio is going to be at work making more remastered versions or remakes or whatever it may be for their PC community. This is an investment that they're making. A lot of money, by the way. So if you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money in dealing with that, what you do is you make your video game in a way that's suitable for all kinds of other consoles. So this is where we are with Gotham Knights. The game was in that place where they were probably trying to make this thing fit into those 2013 CPU laptop type devices, which was our PlayStation 4 and our, Xbox Ones. And at some point, somebody made a decision and said, yo, it appears this is not necessarily going to work just yet. And so they decided that they would go with the executive decision that they would just run the game on the next gen, which already has the capability, the power, better CPUs. I mean, what, RDNA 2? Isn't that what the PS5 is running on? That's one of NVIDIA's more recent technology. The amount of cores on your PlayStation 5 is way better than that 2014 laptop. In fact, what I'll do in post-production is I'll look up the receipt of those specs from my 2014 Lenovo laptop that I bought, and I'll show you guys to see the comparison between those two so that you can kind of see for yourself as to these technical challenges that this game is actually facing if it were to try to run on those old consoles. I'm sure I'm probably going to make this video again, but one of those things about me is I want everyone to care and know exactly what it is that we're actually, experiencing, so that even though the developers who can't say these things, most developers can't, they can at least, in a sense, trust us, the gamers, to understand, because we're doing the digging and finding out what the nuances in the situation and the conversation is. But I'll talk to you guys in another video. I appreciate you guys for your time and audience. And, thanks so much. Shout out to Sam for bringing up this comment, because it's really something that's important for us here in the community to pay very close attention to. So talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.